how much of a concern, I know it's kind of a loaded question, is that whole situation for you moving forward?
Yeah, that was we had a tackle over situation there too, where when we were kicking inside the 10-yard line, we put our tackle over because of the angle of the kick when it's on a hash. And so they blocked it from the long side. So you're talking about something that really made me not very happy. Didn't make me very happy. So we've worked on it this week already, yesterday, and we'll continue to work on it. But we've got to, like I always tell you, we've got to coach it better and we have to execute that better. But that's definitely something we can't let that happen.
Joe, how do you balance savoring a victory with getting the team focusing on the next challenge? What's the balance like, and how do you handle that as a coach?
Right. So, as I was saying earlier, what we do is Sunday's their mandatory day off, so we let them get their pats on the back on Sunday, and then when they come in at 2:45 on Monday afternoon, we show them the tape from the game, and we show them all the things that they did well. Hey, look, this is really good how you played this, how you did this, how you took this block on, how you made this tackle, how you threw this ball. And we show them all the things that they didn't do so well, and things that we need to coach better, and things that they can do better-wise, execution-wise, containing the quarterback. I'd say that's going to be an issue this week. We got to do a better job of that. We got to throw in cuts and crossers better. We got to do a much better job of that. So that's how you do it. You show them on tape. You keep them focused on the things that they're doing well, but you make sure that they understand we got to do these things better if we think we're even going to come close to beating a 5-0 Northwestern team. So to me, that's what we talk about. And then we just, again, like I've always said to you guys, we talk about 12 one-game seasons. So, here we are, this is the 6th of those 12, and we focus on that opponent. What do we have to do with this opponent in order to give us the best chance to win? How are we going to play this game? So we get them pretty focused, and hopefully they stay focused throughout the week.
Okay, with Zach Zwinak, a lot of people have been calling him like a really good downhill runner. What does he do that makes him a good downhill runner? And also, how does one become like a good downhill runner? Or is it more of like an innate thing, like with your body type?
Yeah, I think it's a part of your skill set. A bigger back, 230-pound back that is a thick guy that has good speed. He's one of our faster backs. He's got good speed, but he's not a scat back. He's a physical downhill guy. He likes to press the line of scrimmage. There's certain runs that he's good at. There's other runs that maybe he's not as good at and that he's got to improve at, things like that. But what makes you a downhill runner is just you understand the intent of the blocking scheme that we're running. Those are your favorite runs, and you understand how to press the line of scrimmage, make your lineman right, and get the ball into the teeth of the defense as fast as you can. So he's done a nice job of that. He takes care of the ball. He's not a big bounce guy. He's going to run up inside the tight ends and the tackles, and that's what he's been good at doing.
What are the types of runs that he needs to improve on?
There's just, again, we run a lot of different schemes in our offense, so there's just some other runs that we're working on with all those guys. I would say the same thing for every one of those guys, that there's certain runs that they run really well. Maybe it's an outside run as opposed to an inside run, or vice versa. And so we're working on those runs to try to improve with those guys so they can run the whole gamut and do it pretty efficiently, and that's what we're working on every day.
Hey, Bill. How and with whom do you emulate Colbert in practice?
I'm not telling you that. No, obviously there'll be a few guys that do that, Mike. You'll have some guys that rotate in there. Obviously quick guys, athletic guys, instinctive guys. Maybe guys that did that type of thing in high school. We've got some guys on our team that were, spread option quarterbacks in high school, things like that. So, that's kind of how you emulate that. It's hard. You're never going to emulate it the way it's going to be on Saturday, but you try to give your defense a decent look at it.
You work with quarterbacks. You like the one quarterback. They're going to be rotating play to play to play to play, you said. So what are the challenges that a defense has to be able to pick that up very quickly within just a few seconds, and then how do you prepare your guys for that?
Right, that's a big challenge, Corey. That's something where you have to know right away who's in the game. Then you have in your mind, you have to know, okay, these are the plays that they run with this guy in the game. These are the formations and tendencies out of formations that they run these plays. and these are the other formations that they run these other plays. So you've got to be a very sharp, focused outfit on defense, and you have to communicate very well. You have to talk to each other, make sure you're lined up at the snap of the ball, because they're going to play very, very fast, and they're going to try to run 90 to 100 plays in the game. So, you know, it's about communication, getting lined up, and then understanding who's in the game for them.
Bill, you had an emotional win, followed by now you have a bye week on the other end of it. What's your experience of how those dynamics add up, particularly when a team has a bye, especially this team that's been through a lot over the last, X number of months?
Yeah, I do. I really like the fact that the bye week comes right in the middle of the season. I think that's good. That to me, that's like a good time for a bye. You've had a long training camp. You've had your beginning of your season's been some tough physical games, so that's one good thing. But the number one thing is right now we're just focusing on Northwestern, and so we've got to do a great job this week of preparing for Northwestern, then see how that game goes. Okay, so now we sit back on Sunday, we see how the Northwestern game goes. Who knows how it's going to go? We hope it goes well for Penn State, but we'll evaluate that on Sunday, and then that will determine how we're going to schedule the bye week from a practice standpoint, from a meeting standpoint, from a days off standpoint, and all those things.
Hey, Coach. Jordan Hill was talking the other day kind of how you and the assistant coaches keep the players' hand after the momentum shifts against Penn State. What do you guys do on the sidelines when someone makes a bad play to keep the players from getting down on themselves, and what assistant coaches stand out in that?
Well, we all contribute there. I wouldn't say that one coach stands out from another. I think the assistant coaches all do. The guys on the sideline do a great job there. We always talk about the next play. I know that's a cliche that a lot of coaches talk about, but we do. We just say, look, there's nothing you can do about that last play. All right, so what is the situation for the next play? What's the next play? Stop dwelling on the last play. Don't sit and think for a second the phrase, woe is me. It's more about what am I going to do to do a better job on the next play. We talk to our guys about that in meetings, on the practice field. Some of the things in football are just about emphasis. It's hard to actually play it out until you actually get into a game and things happen, but you can talk to them about it all the time, and so we talk about the next play the next play. Don't worry about the last play.
Well, one of the buzzwords or phrases that we like to use is maximizing talent. How do you evaluate or chart whether or not a player is reaching their potential, or is that even something that's even in your vernacular at all? Yeah,
there's a lot of different ways to do that. Number one is in the weight room. We talk about that all the time. What are his numbers starting out? What do we project his numbers to be after watching this guy work out, lift, run, do explosion type drills, plyometrics, things like that? Where do we think this guy can be? That's one way to measure it. And then, on the field, it's a little bit harder. It's a little bit harder to measure that on the field because, in order to be a good football player, you have to be instinctive. You have to be able to communicate. You've got to understand what's going on around you. What we try to do is see the improvement of a guy. Okay, this week he was really good at these plays, but these other plays he wasn't so good at. All right, the next week he really improved in those other plays, and he's still doing well at these plays. So maybe we can add some more to his plate. So we kind of try to look at that every single day, every night after practice when we watch the tape together as a staff. We're talking about, hey, this guy needs to improve in this, but he's doing pretty well at these things. If we get him to improve in these three things, maybe at the end of the day, he can be an excellent player for us. So it's a little bit harder. There's not the hard numbers that you have in the weight room where it's easier to judge a guy and how he can improve there, but we try to do that on the field too in some ways.
Hey, Coach. I know you have limitations when talking about recruiting again, but how difficult do you anticipate recruiting will be in the next couple of years with the sanctions? And also, how nice is it that you have some guys who are still in that class to help out in future classes?
Say that last part again.
Like, how nice is it that you're able to retain some bigger recruits from your current class?
So, that's an interesting question, and I will tell you that when the sanctions happened, I know that everybody said, "Uh-oh, here we go. Here goes what's going to happen at Penn State." Well, we've had a certain amount of home games. Let me give you a couple examples. At every home game, we've had between 40 and 50 prospects here. Okay, so what are we talking about here? To me, we've been on national TV in every single game, and people enjoy watching these guys play because they love to play football, and they're great kids. So, okay, so now we're on national TV, we got a heck of a football coaching staff. You know, the biggest, you know, we got one of the biggest stadiums in the country. People are talking about, you know, we only had 95,000 at a game the other day. Name me a school in the country that had 95,000 at their game the other day. I don't know, maybe there's a handful, I'm not sure, you know, Michigan if they played at home, I guess, you know, whatever. I'm just saying, this place is a very special place. This is a place where you can play great football with great kids as teammates. You can get a fantastic degree. You can play in front of 100,000 people. You can play on national TV. You can play where you're going to be at practice where we've had every NFL team's been in here to scout our players already this year. So you're going to have exposure to that. You're going to play for a coaching staff that has NFL experience, national championship experience. So, you know, who's to say? Okay, the numbers aren't equal to the other teams out there. We understand that. As a staff, we've got to do a great job of understanding that. But at the end of the day, you know, I've been very, very impressed with the fact that people really, really enjoy being recruited by us, coming to the games here. I'm talking about prospects, coming to the games here, watching us play, and being around these guys when they come down the locker room after the game. So, you know, is it going to be hard? Yeah, recruiting's hard. Recruiting's hard, but at the end of the day, I think there's a lot of good stuff going on here.
Bill, you mentioned before the season that Belton was a guy you'd like to see get 20 to 25 carries a game. What's